Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal and happy Sunday, May 15th of 2022. It is a beautiful, beautiful Sunday here in Utah, and I'm sure wherever you are, if you woke up, you're still breathing, it's a beautiful day wherever you are too, especially if we get to have that perspective, right? Now, I had some really, really cool thoughts this week that I wanted to share with you. And part of it came from a couple of things that I listened to from Michael Singer. He did an interview with Russell Brand, and he has a new book that he's just putting out. It just barely came out this past week. It's called Living Untethered. And if you've read anything Michael Singer's done, his probably most famous book is called The Untethered Soul. And I read this book a long time ago and it impacted me greatly. But I have found these last couple of years, I revisited that book again, but I found that his work is now even more impactful in my life and in the circumstances that we have found ourselves in these last couple of years. And then also, I ran across an interview with a man named Michael Mead, who had some interesting things to say. So I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts on this. Now, the first thing is that as human beings, we don't really grow or change unless we're challenged. And if you think about that in the context of what we've been going through this last couple of years, I feel like there has been such a beautiful awakening. There's been a sense of being prepared. There's been a sense of purpose. There's been a sense of why we're here and what we're meant to do. Because I think what happens, and I know what happens as humans, we get in these comfort zones and things go in cycles. Things are really, 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 really good. We tend to get a little bit lazy. We get complacent. We don't work on the things that we know we should. We don't nurture our finances, our relationships. We don't nurture our bodies the way we're supposed to because things are so good and we're not challenged. So if you think about these last couple of years, the whole globe as a collective has been thrown a lot of challenges. And I will say there's been moments during these past couple of years where I have been less than proud of the things that how I've responded to things and to certain people and certain opinions and different perspectives. But what I've realized is that, and this is from Michael Singer and his Untethered Living, is the concept of it's an inside job. It's not about it is it's our response to what's happening on the outside. So if we expect the outside world to change to make us feel better and make us not feel like a victim, then we're approaching this the complete wrong way. And a good way to look at this on a really simple example is think about when you're driving somewhere and someone's going slow and you get really irritated with them. You might swear, you might flip them off, you might just feel anger inside. You might not get really verbal with it, but you just feel this, oh, like this person's annoying you. And what is it that is coming inside? What is inside of you that makes this person bother you to that to that level? And that's, to me, Michael Singer called this low-hanging fruit. That's an easy thing. At least it should be, because there are other deeper things that we encounter, say with a person that you are in a relationship, or say someone that you work with, or your boss, or your kids, or whatever that relationship may be. Your interaction um, and your reaction to the way that they are having a perception, it's all about what's in here. If you have something that you've stuffed down, you have something that you haven't worked on, you have something that's wounded inside of you, then you're going to flow that out and expect the world to change. If you expect the world to be different so that you can feel safe, that's not how it's going to feel safer. And I will say these last couple of years, the world has felt pretty unsafe. And I'm I have been having my share of that too these last couple of years. But I will say, I've done a lot of deep work, especially in the last probably 9 to 12 months. I've had some really amazing energy sessions. I actually had a deep hypnosis session. I've had some amazing meditations. I've had conversations with friends who are deep friends on my level, on a level that I can learn and grow from. And I've realized that the way that I react to the outer world is all what's happening inside. If I get annoyed because someone thinks differently politically than me, well, that's not their problem. That's my problem. That means I'm not confident. There's something in me that needs to be, have someone placate me and agree with me in order for me to be okay. And I think what's happening is we've approached this from a wrong way. We've approached it from a victim mentality rather than a creation. I get to create, and I get to come from a place of healing and of love. And it takes inner work, and we have to work on this constantly because little things can trigger us. So there's some questions I wrote down here. We get to decide, uh, how do we want to live? How do you want to live in a state of constant fear, constant anxiety, a state of constant victimhood that the world has to change so that I can feel better? I mean, that you can certainly live your life that way, but I personally don't think there's very many humans who really enjoy that kind of living, because then you're expecting the world to accommodate you so that you can feel better about yourself. But I'm telling you, it does not work that way. And that's what's caused, I believe, so much division and so much anger and angst. But here's the thing, I think that this is shifting because so many people are awakening to their own power because things have gotten hard. We feel the world is shifting, and we really can't put a finger on exactly what's going on or how it's going to play out. And as humans, we like to know outcomes because that makes us feel safe. So I would like to encourage you to look at it this way, because this is the way that I've been looking at the world. Is probably really hard the last 6 months. This is fun. We are in a time of great transition. And sure, we don't know how it's going to go. We don't know if someone that's trying to control the planet is going to turn us all into robots, or if someone's going to do something that's going to make us not have access to enough food. I mean, there is so much going on. But I think if we rein that in, and a couple of things, not just look at what your inside is doing, but look at what your local area is doing. What are your neighbors doing? As far as, are you supporting each other? Do you know how to grow a garden, how to, go meet up with your local farmer? Like, these are all things that you have the ability to do that can give you so much joy. And this is where we get to be challenged as a human, right? Okay, so here's the second question. How do I want to respond in situations? Do you want to be constantly triggered every time, say you're sitting with a person who's a friend, or you're sitting with a close family member, or you meet somebody who says something that you don't like? Do you really want to respond in a negative, hateful, triggered way? I mean, that's not any fun. Like, to me, that just dampens your spirit. So what I would say is this: when someone says something that you completely disagree with and you think they're completely off the rails because you've done research, you have a certain knowing inside of you, that the way that you're thinking about things and the way you're choosing to live your life is good. And that is a really good perspective to come from, because that's where we all should be. But someone says something that is complete polar opposite of where you've settled on in a certain area, and you can just simply let them have their opinion, let them have their perspective, and it doesn't trigger you. Like, I would say, practice that. And if it triggers you on a high level, ask yourself this question: why? Why does that trigger you? What is it inside of you that might be a little bit broken? We all need to do deep inner work. We need to go within. We need to pray. We need to meditate. We need to live in gratitude. We need to count our blessings. we need to realize all of the things that we have to kind of bring perspective to what's going, to how we respond to things. Because at the end of the day, how you have an interaction with a person, here's what matters in that interaction. The energy and the love you either push out or you don't push out. You get in an angry mood or an angry mindset because someone that you know says something that you don't agree with, that doesn't solve anything. In fact, the peace and the clarity that comes with your reaction being one of stillness, gratefulness, and almost just neutrality. It's like living in the Tao. Just be neutral. That's so much more of a better place to be. And besides that, you are raising your level of consciousness, which is where we as humanity are going. I truly believe that this is going to be so much fun. And if you can look at it that way and not be afraid, stay proactive, stay prepared, do all those things. But then have fun, live your life. In fact, what I just did, my birthday was yesterday, and all I wanted for my birthday was to have a sleepover with my grandkids and my niece and my two nieces. And they're all about the same age. So we've got a couple of 10-year-olds, we've got a 9-year-old, and we've got an almost 8-year-old. So how fun are those ages? And my sister, who's got the two girls, and then my son and his wife were like, you want to have a sleepover on your birthday? That's a lot of work. Well, I'm telling you, it definitely changes when you get to be a little bit older. The things that you know and appreciate and love in life, they change. They're different. This is what I wanted. And so, talk about fun, 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 fun. It was like, we do this on a fairly regular basis, and now that summer's coming, this is something that we love to do, is have sleepovers. But that is just a whole different perspective. Now, as far as being challenged as humans, and I'm going to end with this thought process. Think about what happens in different cultures and different, and I'm talking about maybe indigenous cultures, where in order for you to actually grow and evolve as a human, you get challenged. And I have 3 Native American siblings, and if you think about Native American history, they would send a young person. They would go out with maybe an elder from the tribe, and they would go on a vision quest. And it might include being out in the elements for a certain period of time. There might have been some obstacles. There might have been some challenges where maybe there were wild animals that maybe they had to navigate. And of course, it wasn't about putting a young person in danger, but it was helping a young person have growth and challenges. And I think that that's what's kind of happened in our culture, is we've lost some of these deep traditions where we get this opportunity. Now, there are some situations and cultures that still do this. If you think about people who go on a church mission as a young person, this is challenging. They go far away from home. They are challenged with these things that are uncomfortable, and this is a challenge. Or you might go serve in a third world country and get to see how other people live and get to be of service. And these are all things that will challenge you as a young person, or even as an older person if you decide to go do something that's going to push you out of your comfort zone. So what these last 2 years have done is they have pushed us to a serious point of discomfort. And we've either raised to the challenge, we've risen to the challenge, or we've been less than stellar. And maybe we've been a combination of both. I would say that's very, very true for me. I have been definitely a combination of both. And there's conversations I've had and thoughts I've had and fears that I've nurtured along that are less than stellar. That is for sure. But I've also done so much deep work, and I'm sure many, many of you that are listening to this can say exactly the same thing. And what I would hope is that you realize that we are in a time of great transition, and there are forces that might seem super, super dark. And there's things that feel like they're crumbling. And it's because I feel like they need to. I feel like there's systems that don't serve us as humanity. It might serve a few people, but it doesn't serve us as a collective. And when these things start to crumble and crash, they're going to grasp and push harder. And this is what I feel is the phase that we're in right now. Because a lot of these systems that are broken, I mean, let's be honest, our medical system is deeply broken. Do they do some good? Are there good people in there? Yes, 100%. But as a whole, is it a wellness system? No, it's a sick care system. And this system needs to break down and crumble so that it can be built anew. So if you think about this as like, say, a forest fire, which is scary and it's devastating, and maybe there's some old, beautiful trees that have been around for centuries that might get lost. But what happens when there's a fire? And then all of the things that crumbled, the forest that burned down, underneath there's life, and there's new life, there's creation, and there's sprouts that start to grow, and it actually comes back bigger, stronger, and more beautiful. And I believe that that is what is on its way to happening. We need to remember that we are the sprouts. We are the ones who are creative, and we get to bring that out into humanity right now. If there is ever a time for you to realize your power and your potential, it is now. It is when things seem the darkest, is when they actually need your creative power and all of the good and the fun and the excitement that you can bring to life. This is what it's all about. And I will tell you, I have never in my life been more grateful than I have for these past 2 years of intense challenge, intense angst. I've had my share of fear too. And I am so grateful for the growth that I've had. And you know what? I can promise you that there's many of you watching this that can say exactly the same thing. And if you haven't experienced this yet, I would encourage you to go within, figure out what is it inside of you that needs to be healed. What do you need to heal so that you can bring your best self forward and bring that piece of you that is going to be part of this great rebirth and this reimagining of the kind of world that we all want. So remember that it's always the darkest before the dawn. It always is. And we have this brilliant opportunity to show what we're made of. So let your light shine in this darkness, because I'm telling you, we live in these most beautiful, beautiful times. And I hope that you can see that. So thanks for tuning in, you guys. I think this year there might be a lot of hard stuff still happening, but if you can keep that vision in your mind of what the potential is that we have. And to me, it's not even a matter of if. It's not going to be like, oh, if we can do this, if we can stop that, here's the thing, it's a matter of when. That is what it all boils down to. I have zero fear at this point of anything. And I think, it's certainly not to brag, because here's the thing. I think when we are afraid of safety, we're afraid of food shortages, we're afraid of supply chain issues, we're afraid of our government, we're afraid of whatever we're afraid of, even afraid of death. I think all of us are afraid of death. Well, when you're able to release that and just bring your creative best self forward, the world explodes into possibilities. And here's the thing. I think what we're really afraid of is the pain, a pain of starvation, the pain of death. And those things are real. We're all mortal. We all have our time. But honestly, let's look at all the good that's here and all of the blessings we have, the ability we have to be prepared. I mean, my goodness, we are so blessed. So thank you guys for tuning in. I feel only extreme excitement for where we're going. I think that it's a beautiful, beautiful time to be alive. I wouldn't want to be alive at any other time. This is the best time ever to be a human being on planet Earth. So have a most beautiful, beautiful Sunday. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you. Go spread the love, and we'll see you next time.